I grew up in a small village in Nigeria where traditions run deep. My uncle, a wealthy man with many farms, had married twin sisters, Amara and Adanna. It was strange but not unheard of. They were identical, same face, same voice, even same way of laughing. The only difference was a small scar on Amara's forehead from when she fell as a child. They did everything together, cooked, farmed, even had their babies, just months apart. If you saw one, you saw the other. But still, no matter how close twins are, death does not spare one, just because the other is still breathing. The day Amara died was normal at first. The sun was hot and the market was full of life. Then, just before sunset, screams came from my uncle's house. We ran there, and there she was, Amara lying in the yard, blood dripping from her mouth. No one knew what happened. 1 minute she was cooking, the next she was on the ground, choking on nothing. The village elders came. They checked her pulse. They whispered. Then they looked at us and said, "She is gone." We buried her that night, by tradition. The women wailed. The men dug, and we laid her body in the ground. My uncle was shattered. Adanna, her twin, fainted 3 times. I remember how she held onto the grave screaming, "Don't leave me," until the other woman dragged her away. That night I stayed in my uncle's house to keep watch. Death has a way of making the air heavy, and no one wanted to be alone. Adanna didn't speak. She just sat by the fire, staring at the flames. I wanted to comfort her, but what do you say to someone who just lost half of themselves? Then, just after midnight, I heard footsteps in the kitchen. I thought it was Adanna, maybe trying to keep busy, but I didn't think much of it. But then I smelled something, palm oil, onions, fresh pepper. Someone was cooking. I got up slowly, my heart pounding. Who would be cooking at this hour? I stepped into the kitchen and froze. Amara was standing by the fire, stirring a pot of soup. I don't mean someone that looked like her. I don't mean a shadow or a ghost. I mean Amara, flesh and blood, standing there as if she had never died. I couldn't breathe. My legs wouldn't move. She turned to look at me, and then she smiled. "Why are you staring at me like that?" she asked. "Are you hungry?" I ran so fast and tripped over the doorstep and fell. But I didn't stop. I scrambled to my feet and ran straight to my uncle's room screaming. "She's back. Amara is in the kitchen." People rushed in, my uncle, the elders, the neighbors who had come to mourn. The kitchen was empty. The pot was still on the fire, bubbling, but no one was there. Everyone looked at me like I had lost my mind. Maybe I had. Then Adanna walked in. Her face was calm, too calm. She picked up a spoon, stirred the soup and said, "Amara is not dead." We all stared at her. "You buried the wrong person," she said. A chill ran through the room. The elders whispered among themselves. My uncle just stood there, shaking his head. Then Adanna smiled. But it wasn't her smile. It was Amara's. And that was when I knew one of them had never been real. Or maybe, just maybe, they had never been 2 people at all. The room was silent. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. We all just stood there, staring at Adanna as she stirred the pot. her smile too wide, too knowing. My uncle's voice broke the silence. Adanna, what are you saying? His voice shook, and I could see sweat foaming on his forehead. She turned to him, tightening her head like a child. I said, you buried the wrong person. I felt my stomach drop. I had seen Amara's body. I had watched the death cover her. So, what was Adanna trying to say? The elder exchanged glances, their old faces lined with something I couldn't place. Fear, maybe. Then one of them, Baba Naji, stepped forward. Who are you? He asked quietly. Adanna let out a soft laugh. You have known me since I was born. Baba, why are you asking me this? But Baba Naji didn't blink. He stepped closer. Which one of you did we bury? The fire cracked. The soup bumbled. Somewhere outside, a night bird cried. Adanna's smile never faded. She picked up a piece of meat from the pot and blew on it gently. Then she looked up. You buried Adanna. I felt my knees weaken. My uncle stumbled back like he had been strung. That's not possible, someone whispered. But the way she was looking at us, the way her eyes glowed in the dim light, made my skin crawl. Baba Nadi swallowed hard. Then, who are you? For a long time, she didn't answer. She just stood there, chewing slowly. Then she wiped her hands on her wrapper and sighed. I told you, she said. Amara is not dead. Nobody spoke. Then she did something that made my blood turn to ice. She raised her hand and dragged a single finger down her forehead. There had always been a scar, was smooth, unmarked skin. My heart pounded. That scar was how we had always told them apart. Adanna had no scar. Amara did. But if this woman standing in front of us had no scar, then she wasn't Amara. And she wasn't Adanna either. My uncle collapsed. Someone screamed, and I ran again. I ran past the kitchen, past the yard, past the graves. I ran until my legs gave out because I finally understood. There had never been two of them. There had only ever been one. And whatever she was, whatever had been living among us all those years, it was not human.